Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started with you.
All right. Welcome everybody to Perennial Talk 2020. I hope you all survived the bad storms we had today. I know there was a lot of damage. Some of you, if you're tuned in, you have power now, but some people lost power, so we are recording this. If you wanted to review this later, I'm going to be going very quickly. We have 40 plants to go over, and it's a 40-minute class because we've got a minute per class. So I may be a little brief on some of them. As Brandon said, we'll have an order form sent to you, emailed to you that you want to order any of the plants you saw here. And you can send me an email, fill that out and send me an email, and that would be great. We will let you know when they're ready for pickup. First off, why do we want to do perennials? Well, number one, they come back year after year. So you're planting them once, and you're pretty much done with them. Second reason is they're easy to grow. Very minimal care. You know, a little bit of light pruning. They don't really need much else aside from the care that initially goes into planting them. This year, I've been way too busy with work and working on my vegetable garden. I haven't done a thing in my perennial garden, so that's why I'm glad we're not doing this, shooting this in my perennial garden, because it's mostly weeds. But the great thing is, I can go out there, I can weed them all out of there, and weed the garden, and I'll have my beautiful perennials. They take so much. They're so easy to grow, and they'll come right back with that competition. So they're very dependable. The other reason is many are going to expand, grow, and then you can divide them and share them with your friends and neighbors. Getting started with a perennial bed, it's very important to choose your site. You want most perennials want a well-drained soil, so that's important. Also, you're only going to be planting them one time. It's not like an annual that you're planting every year. You're planting at one time, so it's better to take a little bit extra time in the beginning to make sure you prepare the hole properly. You want to add some sort of soil, some compost. You can do something. This is bumper crop, good organic medium. It's got manure and compost in there, peat moss. It's going to help get your plants off to a great start. The other thing you want to do, you want to feed your plants when you put them in. Our crews use biotone. It's a starter fertilizer. Lots of beneficial bacteria and microbes that are going to expand your root system. We use this for planting everything, so it's really a beneficial thing to put into your plants to get them off to the best start. So once you figured out where you want to put them, you want to make sure you have the right site and choose plants that are appropriate to your spot. If you have a very sunny spot, make sure you're picking something that can take the sun. If you've got a shady, dry spot, you want to pick something that's going to be appropriate for that. By that being said, perennials are very, very tolerant of abuse. Don't be afraid to try them in a spot. If they're not working, you can just move them. I move, my wife always says I move my perennials like furniture. People move furniture. I'm always moving around. So they're very dependable, and don't be afraid to try new things. One other thing, pest problems. Most perennials are very resilient. There are a few things that bother them. You can do, right now, deer are an issue. So if you have deer, I'm going to be going over some plants that are more tolerant of deer issues, and the deer do not like. You can also use some sort of spray like Deer Out or Liquid Fence, something of that sort to help protect your investment. The other thing I'd like to mention too, seeing a lot of the spotted lanternflies out now. The nymphs are all over. I've been hearing a lot of reports and seeing them on a lot of perennials and hydrangeas and things like that. Normally they'll be climbing up the trunks of the trees to get back up to the trees, to the top of the trees, but I've seen an awful lot of them on hydrangeas and other perennials. So the nymphs are very easy to control. This is a product I love. I don't like to kill a lot of things, but lanternflies we want to get rid of. This is Monterey Gardens insect spray. It's organic. It's basically a super soap and spinosad, which is a natural bacteria. It's very effective. I've used this last year when they were attacking my blueberries and in my vegetable garden. You can spray it on there. One thing, lanternflies, if you see them on the stem, they're actually very smart. If they see you coming over towards them, they will move around to the back of the stem. So if you sort of fake them out, wave behind there, they'll come around your side, you can spray them. This will kill within seconds. So it's kind of satisfying to see them go that quickly. I broke our perennials into groups. We're going to do the sunny ones first, and so you can look along on the sheet there if you make any notes. If you want to, that's fine. I'll try to go in alphabetical order. We'll see how well I do with that. The first one is aconitum. It's in the delphinium family. It's purple flowers. Blooms mid-summertime. This is very deer resistant. It's also poisonous, so be cautious with that. But the deer do not like it. It'll send up this long spike, and you see many little spikes coming on after that. So when the initial spike is cut off, you'll get more flowers coming there. You may not be able to see it down here, but it's got a very stiff, firm rootstock. Very hardy if it's in a well-drained area. Another one that's really super hardy. This is an ornamental onion, and it's called Millennium. And basically, this one has again blooms in the middle of summer. This one is one you cannot kill. It's very hardy. It takes drought. It takes any kind of abuse. It's going to bloom in the hot part of the summer. It's great. You can divide it if you want to share it with your friends, but it's a real nice one. A lot of these perennials are not going to be flowering yet, but they will come on for you. This is a great one for a summer bloomer. It's a Millennium ornamental onion. Another one, great one, is the native. This is Amsonia. This is Amsonia blue star. It gets these beautiful flowers here. It'll form a nice clump. It's not a real spreader. It's not going to take over the whole garden, but it forms a nice upright clump with this firm foliage. The foliage is real nice. It does turn bright yellow in the fall. You're always looking for things that are going to bloom at different times. Perennials, by nature, don't bloom all summer long, so you have to look for other attributes that are going to enhance your garden. So that's a great one, and it's a native. Will attract the butterflies as well. It's Amsonia blue star. This one's Baptisia. This is one of the proven winners. It's called lemon meringue. It has bright yellow flowers. Again, the flowers it's like a pea-shaped, pea-type flower. It's not really doing anything yet blooming wise. But I cut some from my garden. This is a different variety. I just cut these. Again, it's beautiful. It's super hardy. This is another one. I've put this through so much abuse. It's in a dry spot, yet when it floods, the water runs right over it. Never washed it away. My clump is about 3 feet by 3 feet, and this also gets a black seed pod in the fall. Gives you another something else at the end of the year. The other thing too you want to look at, again, has a really nice hardy rootstock down here. Very woody, very tolerant of a lot of abuse. This is another one of the same one. This might give you a better idea. You can see all these little new shoots that are ready to come up. Forms great clump. Super hardy. This one is Crocosmia. And again, not flowering yet. Gets a red flower to it. Hummingbirds love it. Very hardy. It forms a clump that you can divide very easily once the sunny spot. But really carefree. But again, the attribute is hummingbird's going to love it. Blooms towards the end of June, early part of July. So. This is a dianthus. It's called Dianthus fire witch. It's a pretty long bloomer. This was a perennial plant of the year. Every year, the Perennial Plant Association names a new perennial of the year. This was, I think, back in 2006. But pretty long blooming for Dianthus. Dianthus normally bloom early in the spring. Again, the attribute to this one as well is a nice blue foliage to it. So even when it's not in bloom, it's going to give you some color into the garden. This is one of the geraniums. There's a lot of different types of hardy geraniums. This one here is Max Fries. It's a pink geranium, forms a nice mat. This will spread and form a mat, but it's not invasive. It'll get about 2.5 feet across. Brian has beautiful ones in her garden that she's had for years, and they really do very nicely. Pretty long blooming, blooms mostly in the spring. Will go through a resting stage and then may bloom a little bit later in the year as well, to give you a repeat bloom.
Mike, I'm going to break in for just 1 second, and I had somebody ask if, as you go through, if you can mention which ones are deer resistant and which ones are
Okay.
not. If any of the ones that you've already gone through happen.
Will do. Yeah, the ones that are aconitum, the monkshood, this Amsonia is very deer resistant. That's a good one. The Baptisia, excellent. I have deer problem in my yard here. They've never ever touched it. Super hardy. And the allium, they're not going to bother the allium. So a lot of these are good ones for that. Allium has a strong onion smell. You'll find that most plants that have that any kind of herbs or essential oils, their deer tend to ignore. This one here, this is Heliopsis. And again, another proven winner. This one's called Tuscan Gold. Long bloomer, has a nice sunflower looking flower to it. It gets pretty good size, and this one will spread. It'll get up around 2.5, 3 feet tall. A longer bloomer than a lot of ones. Again, once the initial stem is done, it has new shoots coming on down here that are going to give you a secondary bloom. So that's definitely a winner for you. In the H's, this is hibiscus. It's a hardy hibiscus. This is rose mallow. This will take a swampy area. If you have a wet area, this will work. If you have a dry area, it will still grow. You may need additional watering during the heat of the summer. Again, another native. These have flowers that are about 6 inches across. They're beautiful. Give you a nice show in the summer. Keep in mind, it's one of the last things to break out in the spring, break dormancy in the spring. So it's not till almost the end of May before it'll break out. Otherwise, you're just going to have the sticks that you cut it back in the fall. So people always worry that their hibiscus died. Well, no, be patient. Patience is a key on that. But it's definitely worthwhile. Japanese beetles will eat that. Deer would probably eat it if it's available to them. There's another one. These are peonies. Peony is another super hardy plant. Blooms just this time of year. A lot of times they'll need some support because the summer storms will tend to gather in the flower and then tilt it over. So a little bit of support is great. This plant is another one like the ornamental onion that I have not been able to kill. I moved into this house 35 years ago. There was a peony existing here at that time. In 35 years, I haven't done a thing to it. I haven't watered it. I haven't fed it. I haven't done anything. I've mowed over it accidentally. I planted a shade tree 10 feet away from it, so shaded it completely so it shouldn't survive. It's still out there blooming now. So super, super hardy. It can get powdery mildew and some other issues, but again, mine gets powdery mildew every year. I don't do a thing to it. It comes back and blooms for me next year. So very, very hardy. There's a lot of different colors available. This one here is, I'm not even going to say the name, but it's a pretty one. We have a lot of different ones. Some are single flowers, some are these double flowers like this. So there are more available if you're interested in those, but super hardy. This will take up some space. You give it a space of about, save enough about 2.5 to 3 feet across because it will get some size to it. I don't know if I put this on your list, but this is lavender. This particular one is Essence Purple. Another one that deer will not like. Again, has that fragrance. At work, I can't, somebody brings one of these up to purchase, I can't go without smelling it and getting that fragrance. It still smells great. There's a ton of new varieties. This one's Essence Purple. It's a newer one, but it seems to have a stronger fragrance to that. A little shorter in stature, gets these little purple lavender flowers to it, but definitely a winner. This one wants well-drained soil. Do not put this in a wet spot, otherwise it's not going to come back for you next year. Raise it up a little bit. Got a couple. Next, I've got a couple black-eyed Susan. This is Rudbeckia. This is Goldstrom. This is an old one that's been around for a long time. Very dependable. Gets tons of the yellow flowers with dark centers. This one the deer will eat, so keep that in mind. It's not as tasty as hostas, but it's up there. I'd say deer will definitely eat this one. So you're going to need some sort of repellent, or put it in an area where the deer cannot get to. But again, a long blooming, reliable perennial. Now the one that I have in my garden is this one here. This is its big brother. This is Herbstone Rudbeckia. This one is gets 7 feet tall in my garden. So you got the back of the garden, place you in a nice backdrop. It is awesome. I had a clump that I had planted probably about 5 years ago. The clump got about 4 feet across. I divided that this spring, and I put probably about 8 massive clumps scattered around through my house, through my garden. So it's a great one for a big show, but definitely use it to the back of the border. Yellow flower has, instead of the black center, has more of a greenish yellow center to it, and the goldfinches and stuff like the seeds too. So that's another good attribute for this one here. Then finishing up the sunny ones, I've got a couple salvias. Salvia is another one that the deer do not like. It has that fragrance to it. Also has sort of a fuzzy leaf to it. Seems to keep away. This one's called Cardona. I have this in my garden. I love it. You have the double whammy of the purple flowers to it, and then these really dark purple stems that really stand out. When you see a clump of this, you'll see those stems. And again, I just like something that has a special attribute to it to make it really stand out. So that's Salvia Cardona. Great, because the deer will not bother that one. This one here with the pink flowers, bigger flowers to it, so it's showier that way. This one here is Rose Marble. Again, it's just got a larger flower to it, same deer resistance. The salvias in general will form a large clump. They're not gonna really spread and be invasive though. So great plants for that. I'm going to swap over. That's pretty much most of the sunny ones. I'm going to swap over. We're going to do some of the shade ones here. And some of these will take part sun as well. Even your sunny ones are going to take part shade. So you don't have to be locked in. Oh, I don't have just all sun, or no, not just full shade. Nobody has that. So play around and experiment with them when you're doing it. And the shade ones, this is a real favorite of mine. This is Actia simplex. Used to be called Simissa fuga, but they changed the name. With this real dark black foliage. Really unusual to get the dark foliage in a shady location. Typically, your darker foliage is going to need the sun to make it dark. This one gets a white flower. I don't know if you can see that there, but it gets a white flower spikes held up over top of the dark foliage. Really nice, works very well if you combine that with things like this Brunera that I'll get to later. Again, I like to mix combinations of foliages and textures together to really get the best effect in your garden. This is one really interesting plant. This is this year's perennial plant of the year. This is one that you could try to order. I'll try to get for you, but the availability and a lot of things have been very tight this year just because of the coronavirus and supply and demand. This is Aurelia. It's called Aurelia cordata Sun King. And it's kind of neat. It's got a real bright yellow foliage to it in a shadier spot. Get a little more green. Can be used in containers. Don't be afraid to use any of your perennials in containers. I've done very successful container gardens with perennials, both in the sun and the shade. So this is a nice one. You can order it and try to order it. I'll do the best I can to fill orders. It's a little pricier. It's $28, less 30%, but gets about 3 feet tall, gets a white flower on it, and gets a berry on it. So it's going to be very interesting. I have one in my garden. Don't come up and dig it up if you can't find one, but I have one. I'm going to try it out, and one of these will be available. There's another one here. This is a Asarum canadensis. It's basically a ginger. Little. These are the flowers down here. Not very pretty. The main attribute to this is it's going to be nice shade ground cover, basically. Foliage is real pretty. Again, the flower's not really showy, but you're growing it for that nice foliage and the nice ground cover. It is a pretty hardy one, and it's a native also as well. These are three heucheras that I picked up. I went to a local nursery to make sure I had enough plants to supply for this class tonight, and also to fill in our store. And these are three really nice ones. The foliage, and doing it on camera doesn't do it justice. But this one here, this one's called Blackout, and it's totally black. Get little white pink flowers on it at the top. Then the heucheras, the flowers really don't do anything for me. It's the foliage. But that one used in combination with something else is great. This one's called Circus, Heuchera Circus. Great with a yellow and gold and green, and with the red, throwing his red veins in the center. Awesome. And then this one here, this is Forever Red, and that is really red. That's really nice. Even the underside of the foliage is red, so it's, again, makes a really great accent in the garden. Sorry, I'm a little tight in space here in my kitchen, but trying to make this work here. This is hosta. A lot of tons of hostas. This is Hosta Regal. This is Regal Splendor. Great plant. There's a lot of different varieties. This one's really nice for that really kind of bluish green color to the leaf, and then the creamy variegation on the outside. If you have deer, do not even bother planting this one, because they'll eat this like salad, and you've wasted then $12.99, unfortunately. So put it in an area where it's shady, but protected from the deer, or prepare to spray it pretty much weekly. Otherwise, it's gonna be eaten down to nothing. This one here this is Sweet Woodruff. It's a little white flower to it. I should have watered this one, obviously. I have this in my garden. It forms a ground cover, only about 8 inches tall, 8 to 10 inches tall. I like it with the bulbs. I have a lot of daffodils and bulbs coming up through it, so it makes a real nice sort of ground cover. This one does spread very well. Deer do not like it. It's a great one for a shady garden, especially with your bulb plants. This is Lamium. This one's called Ghost. Really nice silver foliage to it. Gets purplish flowers to it. There are pink varieties. There are also ones that are white, have white flowers. But again, you're going to for this lovely foliage. It's going to spread out. Again, it's not invasive. It will. You can see some adventitious roots here. It will root in as it spreads, but forms a very nice ground cover. This one's a Brunera, Silver Heart. This has to be one of my top favorites. Extremely deer resistant. Again, takes a ton of abuse. The foliage is beautiful all summer long, all year long. It will get a pink or blue flower to it, so it's a false forget-me-not. So it gets a little flower. Again, I don't really care about the flower that much. I care about the foliage. Really super nice. It's hairy, so slugs don't eat it, like the hostas. Your slugs will eat your hostas. With a furry, hairy leaf to it, they never bother it. So that's a great one, and deer will never bother this one. So awesome. This is a Stilby. Stilby, again, another shade one that you love. I'm sorry here. So this one, many different colors. This one's called Visions Pink. Really super hardy. It likes a moist shade. When you have a shady location, some locations are moist and shady, some are dry and shady. Dry shade is very difficult because a lot of plants do not survive in that. One of them that would be the Brunera, would survive in the dry shade, as well as my Sarah. I'm sorry. So this one definitely is going to want a little more moisture. So if you have underneath the tree where you have a lot of shade, but it's really dry and root competition, this is not your best option. Would you like my phone?
No, I'm checking to see what brand.
I know. In the shade, this one's number one. This is probably number two of my favorites. It's Hakanakloa Japanese windgrass. It'll spread and form a nice clump. Does not get very tall, and it's one of the few grasses that will take the shade. But really gives you in a shady spot, dark shady spot with this pop of color. Really is nice. Very graceful. Spreads in the wind, and it's just an awesome accent for your shady garden. And one of the last shady ones, this is Rodgersia. Again, it's hard to show you here, but again, it gets beautiful red foliage to it. Great contrast. This one's called Rodgersia Bronze Peacock, and it gets a flower as well. But again, you're growing mostly for the foliage. Gets pretty big. It's going to get up around 2.5 feet tall or so.
Sorry, Mike, just cutting in 1 second. We might only have about 4 minutes left, so if we can get a few.
We're gonna talk texture. Textures are key. This is an awesome one here. This is Acanthus, Bear's Breech. Looks like a thistle, acts like a thistle, super hardy, but really, really neat. Another one that's really nice, this Lychnis, Rose Campion. Again, it's like the inside of a rabbit's ear. It's a beautiful, nice, soft foliage to it. And then this with silver also gets a pink or red flower to it. Really, really cool. Lots of other grasses. This is Carex. This is the blue, unbelievable blue grass. And this is Everlow Carex. Super hardy, great for dry areas and great for that contrast and texture. And while we're at it, let's go on a super speed here. A couple sedums. Again, just put them in your garden, a sunny spot. These guys, I mean, I love it looks to me like something from a dinosaur world or something. And this red foliage of this sedum here, that one is Oriental Dancer. Great plant for that. And then just two more. A native plant. This is a butterfly weed. This is Asclepias incarnata. Again, it's great for our monarchs. It's great for flowers. Beautiful for that. Plus, they can lay their eggs on this, and it helps our monarchs out. And this other one here, this is Nepeta, another really hardy, long blooming plant. Looks a little weedy, but in a mass, it really has a beautiful show to it. And it's one of the few that's going to bloom most all the summer, and the deer will not eat this one. So it's great, and the bees will love it. So your pollinators are going to be thrilled with this one. You got any questions you want to ask, Brian?
We had a couple. I had somebody ask for the blooming plants, like, do you cut them back halfway through the season, or do you just let them go?
Anything blooming, if you cut off the flowers, it'll help encourage it to bloom again. With annuals, that's very important because they'll go to seed. With perennials, it's somewhat effective at making them bloom longer, but it'll neaten them up. The other thing is you don't want to cut all of them back because some of the seed pods, the birds will like that. So I wouldn't necessarily always cut them back.
Okay, and then I also had somebody ask about container planting. What size and how do you care for them over the winter?
Bigger the container, the better, because it gives you more soil volume and won't freeze as well. It freezes much. Most of my pots are about 14 inches or so. Allows you to put 3 or 4 perennials, and then you can mix in some annuals. You make a nice combination. But I've been very successful bringing a lot of those back. Even hydrangeas in pots, something I didn't mention here, but that's a great one. There's one called Bobo, which I have in my pots. It's the dwarf one that works very well.
And then we had someone asking, do the coral bells stay leafy all year?
All summer. All these plants, pretty much every one here will die to the ground in the fall. So in the fall, you will need to just cut them back to the ground. So the coral bells come up pretty early in the spring, and so they'll go up till the end of November, or whenever you get a really hard freeze.
And then when do you divide the perennials? When's the best time to divide them?
Perennials are so hard. Typically, your time for dividing is spring or fall. I've divided perennials in the middle of summer in the heat wave in a drought, and they'll come back. So, but for best results, fall is probably the recommended for most things.
All right. And then I think we might get cut off. So thank you all for coming. And then we can answer any other questions through email. And sorry, I thought we had more time for this one tonight for some reason.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys viewing and watching. And if you have any questions, call me. And Brian will probably pop up my cell number. If you have any questions you want to ask me directly, that's fine.
Oh yeah, I'll add that into one of the future emails that's coming up. So
the emails is, huh? Okay.
Yeah, they should all have the email list all sent over to them already. So
Very good.
You should be good with that.